testimonial regarding another patient who's had miraculous response to the H2 beverage. This gentleman is a 75-year-old who is overweight and has a foot deformity that's common in older people. It's called a hallux valgus deformity. He's sedentary, a lot of pain in his feet. He has underlying heart problems and chronic swelling of his legs. And he has been going to various physicians to deal with the calluses that form on his feet, particularly on the ball of his right foot, on the sole. And their approach has been to periodically shave this to cut it down to a point where it's not putting as much pressure. He's been cautioned about that, and despite that, did develop an infection and then ultimately an ulceration in that area about 1.5 years ago. Since that time, he's been to numerous physicians to help get this healed, which it has failed to respond. He's been to various foot specialists, from podiatrists to osteopathic foot specialists to MDs to orthopedic surgeons. He's been to infectious disease. He's been to 3 different wound clinics, including hyperbaric oxygen, repeated antibiotics, all this over-the-counter, even including a diluted bleach solution to soak his foot in, which I was unaware of. But none of these things have resulted in any healing. He came in to see me on the 2nd of February, and this ulcer had continued to penetrate down to the bone in his foot. You can actually see the bone. Prior to that, it had been cultured, and it grew out MRSA as well as Pseudomonas, both of which are notorious for their resistance to antibiotics. He was on Cipro twice a day at that time because the culture showed he might respond to that and hadn't. And as he came in and took his shoe off, he had a double pair of socks on just to soak up the blood and the drainage from the wound, which literally had soaked the front half of his sock with blood. And I took a picture of the wound at that time. I really felt like he was going to have at least a transmetatarsal, half of his foot taken off, and that if he didn't do something about it, he might wind up losing his foot. If he got osteomyelitis or infection of the bone, that would have been a sure thing. Seemingly there was nothing else to do, and I suggested that he try the H2 beverage, explained to him how the hydrogen worked, how it was very quick acting with a very small dose. It was very safe, and it gave him a week's supply, and asked that he monitor how he responded, and that he could get more and see if that would help. Well, he came back into the office 6 days later, and honestly, to my dismay, about a 90% improvement and a decrease in the drainage from his foot. And the second photo that's taken was taken 6 days after he'd taken the H2 beverage. Obviously, he's going to continue that. I've asked him to return to some of his prior medical meetings and let them give him their estimate as to what has happened. But it is just incontrovertible that this has had a major stimulus to his own immune system and to the healing process. And hopefully this will completely heal up. I think it'll form a scar, and he'll always be vulnerable to forming another ulcer. But as long as he keeps taking the H2 beverage, it looks like things are going to go well.